Hey schmucks, I am P2H, and this is Sippin' on Tea and Tellin Lies. On today's show, February 15th, 2020, I'm joined by Oi Poncho and Raven Corvus. We're discussing the Division 2's expansion, Warlords of New York, the dev team's post-announcement stream, and the community's response to these announcements. If you too would like to participate, please like, comment, subscribe, follow, do whatever they do on the site that you find this on, and find me, P2H, on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. For this and other content, just search P2HTUSYP, and I should be the only thing that pops up. We appreciate your support. Now on with the show. On Tuesday, Tom Clancy's Division 2 world premiere live stream happened. It was for Warlords of New York. They had the story trailer, they had the official gameplay, they had walkthrough and overview, and afterwards they had this little party where they talked for about an hour, 2 hours, and it was good for the most part.
Yeah, I learned some stuff about it for sure.
They decided to talk about more in depth the expansion. They wanted to talk about the campaign, the new end game, RPG overhaul, and the Dark Zone. Those were the bullet points, the ones that mattered. And then they had a little Q&A at the end, and that's where the trouble starts. It's when you involve the audience. And as soon as they involve the audience, they end up answering a question in a way that pisses off everybody, and then you end up with hashtag slugfest. So
what's the hashtag about?
The slugfest is about the player size, essentially the cap in the dark zones being too low, and the devs insisting that the cap will, if increased, would create a slugfest situation. But in describing that slugfest, they seem to entice the PvP community into wanting that a reality. But again, they're at odds. Devs want one thing, PvP community wants another. So that is the eternal struggle, and that has been since Division 1 into Division 2.
Well, I mean, where are we at right now? We're 12 max cap.
12 is the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the first game was 26, 24?
24.
Okay. So that's like the reference, I guess, as far as what people are accustomed to. I mean, they did scale it down, so at a glance, 12 makes sense. But I think the biggest thing that I took away from when they're discussing all this is the tonality they're talking about the Dark Zone. I think that's like a big shift that I kind of needed to hear from them. As far as what we could hopefully expect. I don't know if we want to get
PvP focused now, right? Yeah. It's PvP focused. It was so heavy on the PvE side because they were introducing that shade network. They were introducing gray rogues and the vendor in there and the turrets on the ends.
And how long was it? How long was the rogue trigger before? It was like a couple seconds, right?
It
like 5
was
seconds,
long enough where you weren't ambushing anybody.
Yeah.
If anything, they were dancing on you by the time you got that button off.
Yeah, they had your head scoped already.
There's no point. That is dumb. Yeah. They took out any surprise elements.
I'll give them credit. They're trying to make a middle ground. I will say that from what Rogue 1.0 in Division 1, which was, or like the occupied Dark Zone, where it's just like instant trigger, you can shoot what you see, versus the extended trigger time. So I am happy about that. I like that you actually have an opportunity to make a move now when it comes to ambushing or something.
No more accidentals.
Yeah. Now, with that, I think the underlying tone that I feel like is missed out on a lot of people, clamoring for the slugfest and all that stuff, which is fine. Like, I'm personally if we're just looking at everything at a glance, I'm on that camp of I like the old system. I like how Division One was. I don't like how people implemented it as far as the player, but that's community. You can kind of only police it so much. I do like the more raw elements. But I think the biggest thing, like with their whole approach to not necessarily taking out the PvE element, but not catering as much to the PvE element. Like they flat out said in the post show that they don't see any reason to make a PvE dark zone.
Right.
So they shot that down. They shot down that they kind of doubled down on the old dark zone, whereas what they're saying is like they want to make it feel how the old dark zone felt, which probably my biggest thing that no one talked to me. I had to literally watch the whole 2.5 hours was that they went back to the old VoIP system. And they said, they came out and said, hey, people aren't nice, but you have an option to turn that shit off if you don't want it.
Yeah. But it's your detriment, right?
Yeah. What are you saying, Raven?
No, I was just saying, can I cut in? Because you were saying something about the dark zone being not PvE oriented.
Catering to the PvE.
Well, they are catering to the PvE community because the dark zone's only 12 people.
Mm-hmm. Well,
if it were PvP, you'd have one big giant, PvP zone where it's everything's free for all, or it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. We've got 12 people in this small zone, so the PvE can do the PvE.
Yeah.
A lot of these changes. Well, that's the thing is with a lot of these changes, they're moving that dial away from PvE toward PvP, right?
Yeah.
Like that shorter rogue timer. They want 3 extraction sites. You can only extract, right? Even the credits that you get from deconstructing stuff in your bag now, which you can do. That's a new thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Before, you could literally walk out with items that you picked up off the ground. Like you didn't have to extract everything.
Can't
Not everything
do that
was
anymore.
contaminated.
Can't do it. You don't. Nothing's free in the dark zone. That was a PvE pat on the back. Good job, you made it. But that's none of that anymore. You can't walk into the dark zone without being ready for some shit.
Yeah.
That's almost verbatim from what they said.
Well, that's my whole takeaway from it is what they've done in the dark zone is the more mentality shift, and they're not adding things to it. Which, see, like from just my experience with how these devs worked with Division 1, with them like waiting to the very last minute to nerf Striker and et cetera, is they'll let stuff play out and they'll take things away or alter a little thing before they make a big change. So like that level cap or the player cap, I mean. That I believe down the line, it may not happen right when this expansion drops, that they're going to be raising that number. But I think the main thing they want to see is if they can get the 12 to work, and they're gonna try to get that 12 to work by doing everything they can before they take that. Because once they raise that level cap, they can't go back. Like they can't go back. That's like the last thing they're gonna do. So like my main takeaway is their shifting mentality, them shifting back to like the little thing, like they even said it was like it's a little minor detail, but like you walk in a dark zone and like everything kind of glitches and like it preps you that you're going into a hot environment, like a very dangerous environment. The fact that they're
that mood comment, right? That mood comment, the Isaac mood.
And I think that shifts a lot of people's mentality. Whereas right now like you walk in dark zone, it's like it feels like you're just in an open. Like you're still in the other area. Like there's no like giant shift in temperature. There's no shift in anything. There's no like intercom stuff going off. It just feels like, oh, you're going into another zone versus like as soon as I walk in here, I could get fucking killed, and the fact that they're making it, they made the rogue timer shorter. They're pushing people to go and cut people's ropes. They're pushing people to interact with players in a negative way.
But there's the other thing though. There's the other thing, because they can't just give you the carrot, right? Mm-hmm. They put the stick in it. They're sticking it to people finally.
Yeah.
You lose significant dark zone experience.
Mm-hmm.
They said they're making the DZ level significant this time around because you can level as a good guy, a good Samaritan, a shepherd if you want. You can go around hunting rogues, protecting other people's extractions if that's the goody two shoes that you are. Bullshit. The thing in the Dark Zone is people are going to desperately be trying not to die because they are going to hit you hard when you die. They're going to make PvP mean something again. They're making the Dark Zone great again. It's fantastic. All this news, this news is amazing.
Yeah. Well, there's small details that give me optimism again, which before I watched the entire thing front to back, I didn't have that, I will say.
That's the thing is my impression of the community's reaction to this is like the last 10 minutes. It's sudden they showed up drunk, didn't wake up until the last 10 minutes, heard that comment, and then they're like, fuck, I'm mad about this. This is the worst thing. And it's like,
well, that was me. That was me.
Did you listen to the whole Dark Zone section?
It's about an hour and a half in.
This is huge changes. Huge.
Well, it's not huge changes as far as the community of Division. Like people, they're so accustomed to it, but they're not realizing that those weren't in Division 2. Those elements weren't in Division 2. You had ways out. Like you could just go in Division 1 in there and not have an issue. You know,
they weren't in Division 1. You couldn't be a shepherd in Division 1 and be benefiting from that shit. You had to be selfish. You had to rob people indefinitely. There's a lot of things in here that are incredibly important for on how you want to play the game. It gives more choices. That guy who didn't want to hurt his friends and just wanted to help people, he gets rewarded for that now.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting rewarded for that before.
I do think it's interesting they're giving points back for... Because they didn't go into everything, but they did say they're giving points for surviving players. That I think is interesting.
The thing is, they got it. The reason why they didn't do that before is because you can remember the scoreboards. There were people abusing those things.
Yeah,
right?
and that is something I am interested in because I feel like when roll out, there are going to be people exploiting it. Just like how like when people like we were cutting ropes forever, but once rope cuts gave you like a badge or they were like not a badge, but once they got you on the leaderboards for the month, people were just like cutting each other's ropes and it being stupid.
Yeah, they were having
to see how that works.
They were having little parties with themselves, cutting ropes. There's like groups of like 6 or 7 people on top of an extraction point and just calling the rope in, cut it, next guy, call the rope, cut it, next guy. It's like, what are you guys doing?
But the thing is, see, the way they counter that though is what they say. They said if you die as a rogue, you lose a significant amount. So if you're going to do that, someone's going to be dying.
Oh, that's the thing is they said, as a rogue, but also just dying in general. They didn't specify rogue.
That's true.
They just said dying. I'm sure rogue has an extra penalty because you're being an asshat, but death. Yeah. Death in the Dark Zone matters.
Which will act as a deterrent from, I guess mindless PvP is a lack of Duelist Kingdom, I guess you could
Duelist
say.
Kingdom, mindless PvP. Yeah. If you do it, you're going to lose all your accolades, all your bonus stats. And I'm sure there's going to be a group out there who's going to be like, yeah, good, I'm naked. I don't get any bonuses and I'm still winning. Sure, be that guy. But everybody else is going to be dancing around on top of you because they got all their bonuses. And it sounds like there are going to be significant bonuses. That's how they make the rank important.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they do it. And the thing is, they have to take away from both rogues and agents relatively equally because shepherds, if you're going to reward shepherds, you have to penalize them. You can't just be an agent willy-nilly running around like an ass. You gotta care.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. They said you gotta be prepared when you walk into that Dark Zone. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like the mentality shift. I like that they're actually being. I don't know if it's because they've been working on this update for so long. I mean, we are less than a year into the game, Division 2. So people saying, "Oh, it's a terrible game." I mean, it is. I haven't played in a while. I mean, I started playing again recently, but the reason I took a break is because, I was like everybody else, and you hit gear score 500, and then what do you do? What do you do once you have your build together that can clear the raid, that can do stuff? This is revitalizing those people, not only because of that, but because the revolving rogue level, or I guess dark zone level, is important. That whole mentality of, hey, this is a player versus player arena that you can get loot in. It is not another part of the living world that you get loot in, that you may occasionally run into players. Like, no, you're going to run into players. And that's the mentality shift that I like to see.
Huge shift.
Yeah.
And the thing is, think too about how they were talking. I know. The thing is, I know maybe not everybody had been paying attention as closely as I had. They said that they had a new weapon. A new weapon. It's an LMG. It's an exotic. It's the Bullet King, right?
Yeah. It's the Lone Star.
It's a number of things. But the way they talked about it was in D&D terms.
They even dropped World of Warcraft. So
did you hear it?
All those people that saying this game isn't influenced by, go fuck yourself. How about that? How about go fuck yourself? Go fuck yourself.
That's
to tell me
snapping.
That an RPG looter shooter is not based on one of the biggest MMOs that has ever graced, PC gaming. Go fuck yourself. How about that? They dropped it. The devs themselves dropped it. It's one of those things where I don't care if the only reason you would not think that this is influenced by games like that is if you've never played an MMO in your life before. And you're probably one of those people that think that, oh, I can max out my crit hit chance at 100% because you're too fucking stupid to know that would never be a case in any RPG. That's not crit hit chance anymore. It's just stupid shit like that. And that comes from that culture that people will just like act as if this is not based on that. This does not have tanks. This does not have healers. It does not have DPS, whatever. They said it themselves by referencing these games like that. So I like that they're actually coming out and having some sort of personality for once.
When they were talking about all of their exotics, that fucking SMG where you build stacks by running, kill a guy, you have a movement boost. That dude was like
shit together.
He was like,
that's dragging. That's dragging the dark zone. That's what that is.
But the thing is, he was like, "Oh, I'm a berserker warrior now." It's like, "Yes, you are." Yeah. Keep telling me about these RPGs. Keep telling me, because the thing is, everyone's like, they don't even play their own game. I hope they do play their own game, one, but two, they better be playing other motherfucking games. And here's the proof. Here is them talking about their game in terms of other fucking games.
Yeah.
That guy on Twitter who was giving me shit. Fuck that guy. In terms of WoW. Fuck, you said WoW is a perfect movement. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
Well, that's stubborn ignorance, really, when it comes down to it. But I like that they're coming out and like low key swinging on people.
Swinging.
They're low key swinging on people. I do like that
because they know their community. They've seen it. They've seen it.
Now, don't get me wrong with that. Whereas, like, I don't fall in line with everything they're doing. I don't fall in line with everything. There's a lot of issues I do have. But my main thing with this discussion, before we move on to that, is that I at least like the attitude and the mindset they're taking to these things. I still yet to see it in the pudding, because it's kind of like until they put that in and we see how the dark zone works out once people hit power level to 40 and stuff. Once we get there, we'll see what happens.
It's because I like it. We're both liking what we're seeing and how they're saying it, right? It's pretty good. At least what they've said.
What they've been saying is what I need to hear, because you have to look at it in context that this is, massive. This is Ubisoft. This is Red Storm, whoever. These are people that, for the most part, worked on that first game. And a lot of people that only got into the game, on the tail end at like 1.8 or, even just started fresh with Division 2, it's like this game from year 1 to year 2 was drastically different in Division. Division, the first game, it's like you had everyone in Dark Zone sitting on smart cover in trucks. It's like, and then people want to act like that's a new fucking thing. It's like, no, that's how it was from beta launch until they put in Sentries, and then they want to talk about Sentries was all sorts of broken with the three ticks on everyone running around the OGs and shit like that.
Shit, the SMGs that were getting ticks. Yeah. Jesus
and then when they first put in Reclaimer, it's like that wasn't even a healing set. That gave everyone fire bullets.
Yeah, fire bullets. It was infinite fire bullets for the whole party.
So it's like, and they turned that, which was a DPS, support build into a pure healing build is a complete 180.
Yeah.
Same with Alpha Bridge, it was broken as hell. So it's like, you see these changes that they're taking, and it's like, well, this is kind of what I hope to see, but I hadn't seen it in Division 2 yet, because you don't know what they're going to do until they do it.
Yeah, because every little change is so little and insignificant and mind-numbingly hard to take, because you're like, why the fuck did you just only do that? It's because the big things are big.
Yeah.
You got to wait for the big thing. Because the big thing is when your whole world has, like, this game is not when Warlords comes out, it's not Division 2 anymore. It's a different Division 2. It's like literally a whole different game.
That's what I was hoping for, with Division 1. When, we sit here and we talk about, how everyone's like, oh, expecting a game in the last 5 plus years, 5 to 10 years. It's like, well, look at what you have to draw from. You look at all these other games, until Destiny 2 rolled out, like, my whole heart feel that they were sticking the ride with Division 1 for a minute still, like after 1.8. But
Ubisoft.
I think once they got towards 1.8 and they were like, oh, well, 2.0 has got to be the new game. And it's like, well,
that's Ubisoft and Destiny 2 having
and wanting money and all that shit. And it's like, what do they do with the expansion? They dropped it to $3 to get everyone hyped and playing the game again, and then they're making the expansion, which is, people are gonna be pissed, but it's part of the course for any major MMO, or an RPG expansion. It's like you raise the level cap, you put all new gear into it, everyone's got to regrind again, and that's what gets people in. Now the whole thing is, once people regrind all that stuff, you've got to make it worth them to keep playing.
Yeah.
And so I believe at that point is when they're really going to start addressing the Dark Zone, like first with these little minor things. But then if it doesn't work by the time Warlords becomes like the norm and everyone's hit 40 cap and everyone started to min-max and all that shit, if the Dark Zone doesn't work, then I think you start to see major changes.
The only the only thing I see them being kind of lackluster on is still the loot. They're saying that there's going to be 6 exotics in there, right? But
yeah,
even so, if you can't get everything in there, if the loot isn't the best, like they're saying like, well, it's a choice to be in there, right? But they didn't say it's the best. It should
talking about exotics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why'd you have to regrind them as well? Because they're not gonna.
They're not giving you a recipe.
I think that's an interesting choice for them because, like you said, like they could have just allowed you to, even though you still have it, boost it to level 40 or whatever.
I think it's just a slap in the face, to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
Grinding that people do.
It is for sure. Yeah. I agree with that.
They should have a recipe, to be fair. Because if you already ground for it and you spent the time and it was the cap, you should have the recipe for the thing when it doesn't that make sense?
Well, let's shift that into the stuff we don't like about it.
Well, yeah.
Let's shift to that.
Yeah. It's not necessarily what we don't like, it's what they did say that we didn't like, and things that they didn't say, right? So, yeah, no recipes. Fuck. That's just, they're extending needlessly. That's a needless extension of grinding. And that's, I'm willing to fucking bet that's a Ubisoft call. Right?
Oh, yeah, 'cause that's how you get the $40 or however much the expansion is.
30. It's a $30 expansion.
And they did say it comes free if you get the Uplay Plus. So that's another thing they're trying to get you in. They're trying to get you to get the Uplay Plus and get you in that way if you don't have the $30.
I don't know if does it come with Uplay Plus, because I thought the Division 1 was a Uplay.
No, they said it in here. What's his Hamish or the fuck his name is?
Yeah.
He said that if you have the Uplay Plus, monthly subscription thing, you get everything. You get Division 2, you get Warlords in New York. But what he said is that once you stop paying for it, it goes away.
Oh,
so
yeah, fuck that.
If you want to own it, you've got to buy it. Now, see, what that scares me is if you have the Uplay Plus account. Say you have the Uplay Plus account, right? Yeah. And then you, for some reason, I'm just gonna buy it. Just put it out there. I'm just gonna buy it. I don't fuck with the monthly subscription. But say your card got declined or some shit, and you don't have the Uplay Plus and you don't catch it in time. What happens to all your gear? What happens to your character? What happens to the Lords of New York? Like, does that shit just go away? Like,
you have a cloud account. You have a cloud account. It's just that the thing is, you just can't download the game to your PC. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because my understanding is you have a cloud account and you're just reactivating that account. And they might put it on a list of accounts to destroy, deactivate, what have you, to clear out, because they probably have a bunch of junk ones from people who did it as a demo. But I don't know. Maybe they just leave those indefinitely until people come back. But
what I'm saying is if say you don't have the money to pay for the monthly thing, but you still have Division 2, like you still bought Division 2. Like, say for me, like if I bought Division 2, right? So, and then imagine I sub for the Uplay Plus, and now I can still play Division 2, but then I don't pay for that. I mean, I feel like that could become some problems.
Well, you own the game and you registered the game that you own the game. As would be my guess. So you would still be able to play the game, and if you got the expansion through it, then you wouldn't have access to the expansion content, would be my guess. Yeah. It gets kind of fuzzy. You're right.
It is kind of complicated, because they said in the stream that once you start Warlords of New York, you can't go back to DC.
With that character, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You'll be playing on that main character. Once you start it, though, you can't go back to DC. And then when you get back to DC, everything's different. Now, they didn't go into detail what's different, though. That's the thing they're saying it's going to be more of like a living story type thing, or like the DC of old is gone and it's revamped for New York. Now, what does that tell me? What does that say for the Dark Zone? Is there going to be, because there's a separate level 40 or World Tier 6, whatever the fuck they want to call it, Dark Zone. So what happens when you come back to DC and you're in that Dark Zone? And also, does that mean you can't go back to DC? Does that mean you can't go into Dark Zone at all from level 30 to 39? That's an interesting thing too.
Yeah, you're stuck doing the campaign because you can't.
For 10 levels.
You got to do DC, and you have to get to 40 to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they exclusively keep you out because no, you're right. You can't do any Dark Zone stuff while you're doing the expansion.
So what does that make the Dark Zone in those 9 levels? You're not able to touch it.
There's nobody there. Not until you get to the end game, and then it separates the players from the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah, well, I'm saying I don't mean literally what I know. No one's going to be there, but I'm saying like when you come back to it, what is it like?
Oh, yeah, we'll see. Because the thing is, another thing that they did say but not say, right? So this is kind of in the middle. Yeah. They didn't get to make a Dark Zone for New York. They didn't get to it.
Yeah, they said they didn't get it, which leads me to believe they may get to it.
That's the thing, is the language. People don't listen.
Yeah.
People don't fucking listen.
Well, you gotta understand, they've been doing these state of the games for months, and they've not mentioned any of this. You know?
That was the point. They couldn't.
Yeah. And they even say that like it's been hard as hell leaving stuff out.
Yeah, this fucking sitting on this fucking time bomb of a fucking shadow drop, and they still can't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's impressive. The thing is, more about what they didn't talk about. PvP exclusive.
Yeah.
Right? Fucking skirmish, anything.
Didn't touch anything about that stuff.
I understand why the PvP community is up in arms, because besides the Dark Zone, which is looking rather nice at the moment, the fucking PvP community didn't get a fuck thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're left out hanging, and it's year 2 we're coming up on. And mind you, seeing an expansion come out before year 1's done is rather interesting. But
well, by days, you know, like that means they've been working on this almost since launch.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I'm saying, but you know, they've been working on it since launch. Bullshit. Fucking New York. They wanted to do New York because Division 1 was doing so well after Division 2 came out. So don't.
That's not what happened. I'm as far as the
I know the development cycle, they probably it was probably already in the works, but maybe they put it on an accelerated time schedule.
I think that had more to do with it. Yeah,
capitalize on the excitement. That's why the Dark Zone isn't done, maybe.
Yeah,
because they're hinting at it. They're like, yeah, we didn't get to it yet. It's because everyone's hyped on Division 1. They want to expand on the Division 1 story, get these Division 1 fans back playing Division 2, and finish that story. And then by the time they're done finishing that story, the DZ will be ready, etc., etc. And
then guess what? You walk across Manhattan Bridge. And you're not DZ8. Yeah.
All right, look.
Just throw it out into the universe.
Just fucking saying. All right. Like, I understand everybody's up in arms. Hashtag who gives a fuck. Like, look. The thing is, things are looking pretty good. I understand they left some things out that really need to be looked at, but it sounds like they have been looking at them. You know, I feel better.
And I want to preface this. This is what, February 15th. So by the time this comes out, I mean this episode or whatever, you know, they could have touched more on the dark side. They do a state of the game, what, like once a week?
Yeah, like every Tuesday, I think.
So we got 3 weeks or so, 3.5 weeks.
Or they could have completely fucked it up by the time we say anything on here. You know, fuck, I could be completely butchering this.
In later. Context, this is just for context, but yeah.
Like we're essentially responding to the immediacy of how fucking short-sighted everything seems right now, but it's
my biggest pull away from it is I do like the openness and mentality shit that they're talking about. I wish they would have come out with that earlier, because I feel like if they would have come out not necessarily with info about what they're doing, but just the mentality and the verbiage of, hey, we are doing things that we did, like the old Dark Zone. We did, like, you know, what made that zone great, you know, talked about VoIP. Because I remember back in stream, and want to say again, like, I brought up in the thing about, hey, what's the indication of VoIP? Like, what is going on with this? And they completely said, we're not touching that. And I'm like, well, that is what made to me, this is just my personal opinion. To me, the VoIP was the biggest thing that no one talked about that made the Dark Zone as special as it did.
And because that's how that.
Yeah. But that's what I like to see, because they're actually addressing it and they're talking about tells me like, oh, I'm not crazy.
I'm not. You're not. They're talking about it by design. They made a rat pistol, called it Rat King. That's my gun. They made me a fucking fire-breathing dragon of a specialist who's a tank who cover-to-cover moves, has a shield special, and motherfucking gives everyone damage by being on the front line. Fuck everybody. This is the best shit ever.
That's a good segue. Let's talk about a little bit of Title Update 3 and the RPG elements they're incorporating into it.
Look,
you seem to be hot on that.
It's not even title. It's episode 3, right?
Yeah,
episode 3 already out. It's the RPG stuff comes later. That's the expansion. Is that March 3rd? February, March? Yeah, March 3rd.
That sounds about right.
So. Yeah, because March 15th was the initial release. March 3rd is the expansion. It's only been a couple days difference. The main thing here is that we're going back Coney Island, which is not technically going back because it's a new part of New York. So guys, quit. I'm just saying. Anywho,
it's going back to the state of New York, not necessarily in the area.
Coney Island. Let's look. Main thing is I have a flamethrower. I have a shield that gives me bonuses based on who's in front of me and buffs the people behind me. I cover to cover, get bonus armor. Come on. All right. Come the fuck on.
What is that? So that's the firewall.
Firewall. Yeah. Fucker, this thing is bananas. This is an actual tank build. They were like, you know what we're missing? We're missing an actual tank. We have a paladin in the form of the survivalist. Now we've got the fucking real deal, right? It's not this half and half healer bullshit.
Yeah.
This guy is like, nah, the heal's on me and it's 200% over 10 seconds. All right? That's what that guy does.
That's a big
200 fucking percent.
That's 20% every second, isn't it?
That is the math.
I did math right.
Not really. Yes, it is. Because it's twice 10. Yeah, I'm the one who's was dumb.
For reference, what was the old one that gave like 30% of your health back?
The sniper.
Yeah,
I think the sniper gives you 30% and fucking heals you of status effects.
Could be completely off on that. There's been a minute.
I think that was the sniper because like the fucking sharpshooter, because the other one. Let me think. I don't know. It's been a while since I've used the other classes.
This kit, it's an extracellular matrix mesh talent. They need the they need the.
No, it's a big heal. Fuck you. It's meant for big ass heal. It's got a big ass name.
Let's see. So you're running that. That plays a lot like how your shotgun shield build.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
In Division 2.
Yeah.
Where you would take all the damage up front and push in while the hot was.
Yeah. You take a little damage. You pop your med kit. You're running with the bonus armor into the enemy. So the bonus armor eats, then you get to your actual armor. You're healing that. If it gets to your health, now you have 2 heals on yourself right now. That's the other thing you need to remember. It works like Nomad. How Nomad had multiple bars and it would heal. Yeah. So the further down you got, the better the hot got. That's the other thing people forgot about Nomad, was that it's the hot on it. So fucking that's bananas. All right. On top of that, you give a damage bonus based on your proximity to the enemy. 10 meters or less, you guys get a bonus against who I'm fighting. Of course, I'm using either an SMG or a shotgun or a pistol, because of course I'm using a shield, because I get mods for shields free. And the thing is, people are like, but I have a shield. I'm not using cover. Have you ever used a shield before? Do you know how to cover? Bounce off of cover with your shield. No, you don't, because you never used a shield before, and you've never experienced mechanics of a shield because you're a dumb motherfucker, just like every other person playing the game. You need to understand how shields work and how they work with cover, and that they're not mutually exclusive.
Well, I think the biggest thing people do is they think they can throw the shield out and they just keep it out until it dies.
That's not how that works.
The way shield works, you got to preserve the shield. You got to know when to push with it and when not to push with it.
But they don't know because nobody does. And the thing is, that's new. It's not new. Like,
well, it's old. It'll become a new. I don't know if it'll become the new meta because I think too stubborn to actually want to do it.
No, are you kidding me? The skirmishers, the people running around who are like, my double barrel's weak now. Switch yourself to that Sweet Dreams. Get to that cover movement. Stop covering. Roll. Bust out the shield. You have a damage. You just got out of your bonus armor. You got a shield in front of you. You got bonus from the shield, and you're buffing whoever's behind you. Fuck me, that's a great combo.
Nimble build.
That's a nimble build. They just gave you nimble. Don't fucking tell me.
What was a nimble build?
Nimble was the greatest gold build in the entire fucking game, bar none, until they just took everything away from it. And even after that, it was still great.
I saw some people still run it. Even with that,
to the end, to the very
what's his name?
1.8.3 is people still running nimble builds and winning.
Yeah,
you can't tell me that this set isn't going to be fucking balling out of control.
I think the biggest thing with this set is people look at it at a glance like, oh, that's easy or whatever. I think what's going to make this set, if not run correctly, will get shredded through.
Oh, it's mechanically tough.
Yeah.
Mechanically, it's going to be tough to run.
And pull it off. I think it will become one of the strongest. I mean, I feel like it already is. I mean, I haven't done exclusive, I don't have it all and haven't done exclusive testing in Dark Zone with it. But I feel like if you can get it down, it will be a really well put together build. But I think that's kind of the motion they're pushing people towards.
And there's disadvantages to it too, because it is forcing you to use your cover to cover. It's forcing you to do this, that, the other.
It forces a play style, which I think is what are they called? The specializations. I think that's what they're trying to push people into, almost like classes.
Yeah, go fucking like that's their classes. So they're talking about the specializations helping narrow down your play styles. They're talking about the exotics even further, right? It's like, oh, this exotic gives me this. It's a clear bonus. It stacks this way. Like, don't tell me like you're not gonna understand what the thing is. You may not understand what you're doing, but you're going to be doing it anyways. At a certain point, they're going to be. I'm worried about the simplification. I'm worried about
successful with it. Yeah,
right. I'm worried about the simplification, making it to the point where it's like, oh, it's you just slap stuff on and it works. But you have to read, understand, comprehend, and then build that strategy and use the fucker. Because if you don't play to the strategy of what you've built, you will lose. You just fucking will. That's just how that works. Yeah. Are you a shield build? Turns out you're a dead motherfucker if you have the shield out all the time and you're walking 5 miles an hour and everyone's running 10. That's just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
That's why they're saying, hey, cover to cover. You have to use cover to cover, but also the shield. You have to switch between these types of mobility because guess what? Shield isn't 100% of the fucking time.
Okay.
They're trying to teach you. They're trying to teach you about the game without telling you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's smart design. That's good design. I like that. That's really good. If they can teach people how to play with certain skills, with certain abilities, weapon sets, and get them to mesh without actually sitting down and going, hey, here's a build. Here's how you play it. Here's how you... Like,
well, that's
no build
classifieds
videos.
work. Classifieds like here's every step to the build.
That's what they were complaining about too. They were like, this classified can't have a fucking diary's worth of fucking notes on it. We're simplifying it. Good. Thank you. Please.
I do like I mean, just from the few that I've seen, we're just talking about the world premiere live stream post-show stream and the information pulled from that, as well as the patch notes. But in that stream, they were talking about one of the exotics giving you a speed bonus. I could be wrong on this. I believe it's like after you end 100 shots, you get a speed bonus.
No, you're mixing the two up. There's the LMG. So the LMG is Bullet King. 100 shots, get the refill. Whole party.
For the whole team.
Right. Yeah. And then there's the SMG, the one with that weird grip in the skull and whatever.
Yeah.
You run around, you essentially build momentum as a stack, and then you start spending that stack when you shoot at somebody, and it's an amplifier, and they said amplify means multiply. So you multiply the damage, and if you kill somebody, you get a movement buff. So you can build stacks, I'm assuming, faster, and you get to your targets quicker. So that's when they made that the warrior reference, the World of Warcraft. So
I'm interested to see how that plays with the firewall, if it's even possible.
It does, because it's SMG. It plays off the wall. You can use it like shotguns, SMGs. That's kind of a goofy combo.
Yeah,
it's problematic because you have armor in the cover to cover movement, and you're also building stacks while you do it, and then you bounce off of that cover, so you don't have the armor anymore, but you didn't lose any health, and then you kill whoever's on the other side of that cover. Now you have a mobility buff. Touch to cover to cover bonus gives you the armor. Move to the next guy.
Yeah,
that's a lot of spacebar. It's a lot of chaining your moves and stuff, and knowing what cover is where and how to use it. Knowing the terrain. Well, but that's who benefits from it, is someone who can utilize that. A nimble build. Again, it's a nimble build.
It's an nimble build, and it's also lends itself to, if we're going to call back to Division 1, people that would drag people throughout the Dark Zone and keep the whole thing moving. They want to keep it. I feel like with this, when we're applying these two elements of darkness, I feel like that's where it's all going to be leading to anyways. They're trying to make it so people aren't staying static.
It's not a static fight at the door anymore. You gotta fucking deal with shit. That's the other thing, is it's 3 extractions. You have to extract your stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
they said that they're making a big notification when that thing goes off.
It worries me, because if it's 12, you got 3 teams, they could just circle, right, and extract.
Well, that's why I think they're hesitant to raise the cap. I think my theory is just the verbiage and how they said we didn't get to that yet when they're talking about Dark Zone in New York and all that stuff. My theory is that they're going to keep everything as it is in DC with the 3 mini Dark Zones, and that eventually, either down the line or in the next big update or something, they're going to finish the Dark Zone in the DZ, which has a bigger player base, or it's more of an air. It's got a larger land mass, so it's able to hold more.
So we're gonna move to New York eventually,
or
what?
Because Breakpoint is a flop. I don't care what anyone says. Because of that, they actually put in survival again, and they make that an actual proving ground.
Well, we'll see. New York survival is actually acknowledged in the story for this update for this Warlords of New York. It was hit by a hurricane, so the bridge is broken. That was the superstorm, right? That was the superstorm. That was survival. So if they do a new survival, it's going to be different. In what way, I don't know. But it would be nice if they brought back survival.
Oh, I'm just saying, like with the three extractions and the way the current Dark Zones are, I don't know if them raising the cap on the Dark Zones that are in DC would work just because of how they've already made them 3 smaller Dark Zones.
Let me help those people too. I mean, look, it would help them though, right? Wouldn't it? Because we're the thing that is an issue in the smaller Dark Zones is contact, right? Number of times you see players, because you can, even in a full Dark Zone of 12 players, if 2 of the teams are fucking off at a door, just circle jerking around, PvPing, whatever, that leaves 4 fucking players doing whatever, right? You know, farming, extracting. That is a small amount of people to find and fight if you're trying to rob people. That you can't do it. And the thing is, PvP over gear is the natural order in the Dark Zone. That's just how it is. So because of things like that being possible, you have problems where people are wondering where everybody is, where it's empty. It feels empty. Well, it's not empty. I'm sure you're on a full server because of what they've done, the recent changes. Problem is, dipshits 1 through 8 are sitting on a door trying to sort out who has the longest, and it's not working because they don't have a place to actually compete, and they're wasting their time in the Dark Zone soaking up 8 fucking slots of fucking 12.
Well,
you have 12 slots.
Yeah.
So if back in New York, you had 24. So if they had 8 slots soaked up, it wasn't a problem because all those other slots were open. Right? You had, you could have people dicking around doing PvP, and then you could still have people scavving, right? In other parts of in fact, that's what would happen, is they would PvP, and then the scavvers would go to the other half of the Dark Zone and scav.
Yeah.
They would move around. They would keep separate. There was some anonymity, some autonomy between the 2 groups. Mm-hmm. Right? So you had more control. Whereas now you don't. You know, it's either you do what's happening on the server or you try and find a new server.
Well, I feel like that's where the subtle things they talked about the Dark Zone are going to have a bigger impact. In the grand scheme of things, like with the no gray rogue anymore, which I'm interested to see. If there's no gray rogue anymore, how do you go about getting into those Dark Zone vendor spots?
Yeah, I don't know if they exist anymore.
Oh, that's the thing we got to find out. But also with them, they're coming out and saying that the consequences of going rogue, or consequences of dying, not going rogue, but the consequences of dying in the Dark Zone, rogue or not rogue, are way more important. The actual rank is going to matter a lot more now, with as far as your. I mean, I'm just going off what they're saying. I have my skepticism. Obviously, I'm assuming that they're going to make it work. That's the only thing I can do, because for me to assume that it's going to suck, I already have that assumption. But for the sake of argument, I'm assuming that it does work how it's supposed to work, with them making consequences of dying rogue or not rogue being a thing, the consequences of people, the rewards for people saving people, the rewards of people protecting people, the rewards of reviving, et cetera, et cetera. I'm hoping, for the love of God, and they also said they're not taking away the entry turrets. I hope that those factors do kind of guide the Dark Zone in a more free-for-all, everybody PvPing with a purpose or hunting people or trying to extract things or whatever. I hope that does work itself out to where that experience does not just become a circle jerk of, PvP at a checkpoint or in an area that's not farmed by, NPCs.
They don't solve PvP, though, because there isn't a competitive PvP mode.
And that's something I also want to see. Hoping they address that, because they haven't talked about that at all. They haven't talked about conflict. They haven't talked, like we said earlier, about any of this stuff. This is stuff that I would like to see.
That's the thing, is as happy as I am to see the list I see of all the changes in the Dark Zone, not a fucking lick of it matters.
Yeah.
Nothing matters until they fix PvP. And I'm not talking about the balance, the meta, this, that. No, I'm talking fix PvP as in they need a place to fucking be and be happy, because the Dark Zone, despite what they think it's supposed to be, is PvEVP. It is the encapsulation of the entirety of the game all in one spot. The PvP portion is supposed to be some of these other game modes that we left behind and never came back to. Red Storm has been sitting so quiet. This is the thing. They give me hope because we didn't know shit about this. Maybe they've been sitting on this other thing, not fucking talking. It's like, here comes year two. Year two, you better fucking have these PvP modes. Competitive, ranked, because what's the point of being competitive if you can't fucking measure against other people? That's the whole fucking point. Better have badges and shit associated with that too. I saw a slot on fucking the main page when you pause it or whatever in the bottom right, unused.
Yeah.
Better be a PvP rank badge. You better be able to flaunt that shit and show people, because who gives a flying fuck about me completing a fucking mission with all headshots? Who cares, right? I want to show you not that badge. I want to show you a PvP badge. The badge that mattered to me last game, it sure as shit wasn't a PvE badge. It was my rope cutting badge. It was a PvP badge.
Well,
give me those.
They touch on that, and we can kind of use that as a segue also. They touch on that in the revamped Dark Zone that they're doing, or the alteration they're making to the old Dark Zone. You cannot progress your rank unless it's interacting with other players, no matter what. So that's at least something I will leave out hope for. I think we've kind of covered, like, as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah.
Now talking about the PvP elements of it, because like the Dark Zone, I don't want to get twisted, like, PvE, VP, people assume, oh, you're just farming. It's like, it's not that. It's PvP with the intent to harm other people. That's kind of like the whole mentality of Dark Zone is it's eat or be eaten type thing over gear. So we get that. We have that covered. Now the people who just want to PvE, they've got PvP, they've got all their gear, they farmed all their gear. Like you're saying, is there's no arena for that. Now, in the game, in the stream, I mean, they talk about crafted briefly, they mention it. But another thing that, I'm listening to another podcast, Countdown to Classic, which is about, the World of Warcraft Classic, and their final one, they had the lead developer of Vanilla WoW on there. And he touches on there about arenas and all that stuff, and that they didn't plan these with that in mind. Now, what I'm interested to see is how they take all these elements, gunner, tactician, and stuff like that. The seasons have a big thing. I'm interested to see what all comes with seasons, because like they touch on it, but seasons, I would hope that comes with seasonal PvP modes or seasonal leaderboards, or like 3v3. I wish, rather than just like the standard 4v4, shit fest that is the current conflict situation. I wish that they went more the route of kind of dating our age, but like how Halo was, with where you had separate ranks that went up and they went down depending if you're bad. Like, I don't like the whole participation, you just log a bunch of hours, you hit 90 bullshit. I don't think, like, the biggest thing with Division 1 is that you would go in and you'd have a rank 99 with a rank 40 with a rank 2, and none of that was any indication of how good the player was, just an indication of how many hours they've logged. And I think that's bullshit. I think you should gain stuff as you lose stuff, etc., with your rank per mode. And I think that only comes with having more actual conflict game modes that you can queue into separately. Like I think like a 2v2 duo mode. I think that would be sick, because I think there's a lot of players that do have their people they roll with, they build composition. Why I think that would be really interesting, having like their own leaderboard for that, own rank for that. They're a 9-player arena style free for all. I think that would be really cool. To be like, I'm the best solo player. The big team battles, the 8v8s like they have with Last Stand, and etc. etc. I think having separate game modes like that can have people specialize in different things and really prove that they're the best in the game at that set mode. I think that is an element that's been missing in Division 1. I think that's an element that's still missing in Division 2, that they have just not touched on or even really talked about. They just like threw another carousel game mode, arcade game mode into fucking conflict and make it a big deal. It's like, give us something to work towards to play that game mode. That would kind of alleviate the pressure on the Dark Zone as far as being the dick measuring, arena.
Well, look at what you were just comparing to, right? When we were talking about balance and a lot of the other elements for the Dark Zone, because the Dark Zone is PvE influenced, we were talking about World of Warcraft. We were talking like those types of games, right? Mm-hmm. D&D. When you talk about arenas and competition, we immediately jump to FPS games, because those games have been doing it for literally decades. It's just it's been well defined what you need to have in a competitive matchmaking game mode, right? You gotta have ranks. You gotta have matchmaking. You gotta have different types of matchmaking for different sizes of teams, different game modes. It's not fucking hard.
Yeah.
Okay? You just look back every fucking game that has any form of shooting and scooting has fucking territory control, deathmatch, some sort of like capture the flag. Like, don't fuck with me. All right? We have those, and if you can only make it to 12 players, you have room for the free-for-all. Fucking the DZ is a free-for-all. If nobody teams up, you got room for it. I don't just fucking figure it out, man.
That would be something that I think would be really cool, is have like a rotation of the Dark Zone map. Add a 12-person free-for-all.
But that's it. Like, did you see fucking Last Stand? Last Stand. That's what I'm saying. Just do the same thing for fucking all the other shit.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like, I mean, I get it. Like, there's a lot of development that goes into this. It's got different teams. They work on different stuff. Like, I understand that. So, like, I understand there's only so much resource they can put different things at a time. I just really hope that before year 2 is done, because year 1 got us to this point, right? I really hope before year 2 is done that they have at least some sort of direction when it comes to this stuff. Because I feel like for as much as we reference World of Warcraft, we reference all these MMOs and stuff like that, and RPG elements, the game is still it has shooter elements as well. And like you're saying, people that gravitate towards this game also are coming from those Call of Duty backgrounds, those Battlefield backgrounds, Halo backgrounds, etc. Rainbow Six. I mean, fucking Rainbow Six Vegas 2, I feel, is the precursor for this game. You look at how that game had all these different game modes, had the hardcore game mode, which they are talking about in the stream. They're talking about hardcore modes and stuff like that. It had the weight balance. You had to put your build together, all that type of stuff. That stuff was all precursor back to Xbox days. Xbox One. And so I'm hoping that they do have something on book. Now, it's another thing that really pissed me off these days. They don't like to talk about shit until it's done. And so with that, they take a lot of scrutiny because they're not talking about shit. Now, all they could say is that, hey, we have something in mind for this. Just hold tight. I would be okay. You got me. I'll chill. But if you're not going to say that, I'm going to fucking grill you until you come at me with something,
Yeah, and the problem is PvP has been this, they've squeaked out things here and there, and it's been nothing but a disappointment. So just, what do we got, man? It's just, there's nowhere to go with where I have hope. I cannot give it to this PvP stuff. And then that is the crux of my argument for saying that things won't get better, because no matter what changes come to the DZ, no matter the changes to the PvE, the balancing, the everything, none of it makes a difference until there is PvP. And until PvP is treated justly, because it's a shit show. It completely ruins, and especially because of the razor thin line that is a 12-player cap. You can't. Mm-hmm. It fucking doesn't work. So I applaud them for trying to commit to this shit, but they've created this situation where you have to hit your game perfect with the balance between PvE and PvP. And then you get the Dark Zone PvEVP to work correctly. But that's the thing. That's the thing about the Dark Zone, is it tells you, it gives you every problem in your game, whatever you're missing, whatever is not running correctly, it shows up in the Dark Zone. That's what's great about the Dark Zone.
It's basically a testing zone.
Correct. If there's
they say that on the stream. They say that.
They're like, yeah, you guys, PvP guys, keep us honest with the meta and the blah. Yeah, that's not the only thing that happens though. The DZ specific is the balance between PvE and PvP. And as soon as that balance is out of whack, you end up with dick shit in the fucking DZ, like people sitting at the ends of the Dark Zone, hugging it out until they find some other game to play, like Siege or Frozen Motorsports or whatever the fuck.
What?
What a Need for Speed. Who gives a fuck? Look.
Yeah.
I get it. But that's the whole point. They need competition. They need it. Yeah. I have a different form of competition I'm interested, so I'm not overly missing them now that they're gone. But they are.
It's a key element.
Exactly. The thing is, I wouldn't mind competing.
Yeah,
I would love to compete.
My biggest thing is the way. I mean, I think we're talking a lot of inside stuff, and people listening will be like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" Is like we're talking about those players that came from Division 1 that had that kind of what's that mentality of that PvP mentality. I feel like in the game currently is like you have this, and it kind of tailed off toward the end of 1.82 as like lack of a better word, the top players in PvP or whatever kind of started to fade away. The people who really obsess over PvP, when you don't have those players in the game, you can't really tell how good certain builds are, because they're the people that are playing it now. I mean, I'm extremely generalizing here because I know there's good players that still play the game, There's still a lot of people with theory crafts and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, as in a large scale, you lose that voice, and what you do is you have people who are so focused on getting everything min-max for rating or for PvE elements or whatever, that they're missing they're missing the ship on what it takes to actually have a top tier PvP build.
Player skill. Skill. And you're being too nice about it.
It's not just shooting a gun. Because player skill, my entire existence on Division 1 was the loudmouth who was not good with the gun. I mean, not because of if I threw on a Deadeye build and I played it for a week, sure. But my big thing was supporting characters, supporting players, playing that healer role, playing that role that, buffed the whole group to make the whole group optimize in our PvP encounters. Now, what happened with Division 2 is they took away a lot of those builds and they kind of simplified it, the demolition and sharpshooter or whatever. Now, if all these, like the tactician or the technician, the gunner, and the firewall were all on the books, those are the builds that kind of give you more of an idea of the classes that they're developing and where they're pushing the RPG elements of it. Is player skill is a wide range of things. It's like knowing how to put your build together is a player skill. Knowing the map design, knowing when to push, when to not, knowing how other people play their builds, knowing the ins and outs of other builds, and know how to counteract them is the biggest part of any PvP. Well, I'm just generalizing here right now.
Being too nice because there's people out there that are dogs. Dogs. And they left a long time ago. And they ain't coming back until there is something for them to fucking grab on with their teeth.
Exactly. And what I'm saying with that is the bar of what a top tier player is in Division 2 is not as high as what a top tier player in Division 1 or even early stages of when Division 2 was just fresh out of the game. It's like the bar is not as high because the player type mentality that's coming from those people that are like, oh, I'm really good at the raid, and they know how to really down NPCs and stuff like that. And then they, by end result, they're top tier player in PvP because there's no one really pushing PvP like how it was, and until they get that audience back, the game is not going to be, as they intended it for. This cutthroat, dark game that you've got these PvE farmers trying to get their gear and getting hunted by the PvPers, and vice versa, going for stuff until they get it right. And until they get it right with a reason for those people to come back, you're going to have a lackluster game because you're not getting the feedback that you need from these players. So I'm interested to see how they go about fixing that in the future, and as they release more stuff. I'm assuming they're going to be releasing more stuff about the expansion leading up in these next few weeks, and as the expansion comes out and like the patches coming up and the hot fixes and all that stuff. I'm hoping that they're doing something down the pike to satisfy those players, because Division without those players is not as enticing. It's like fucking, I don't know. I feel like it's like Training Wheels Division or something.
Yeah. That's what it was. That was what the Dark Zone for Division 2 was. It was designed for new players. That's why you had the designation. You had the non-invaded and then the invaded ones, which you're still going to have, but at least they're all going to have the same rules across all of them. So
I will say my biggest takeaway is I am so hyped on taking the VoIP back, because the VoIP is what build the communities. I feel like that, like depending on your server time, when you played, who, your mind game, all that stuff, having that ability to talk to people not in your group and talk to people who are rogue and like taunt them or whatever, like that is a big part to what made, people play the Dark Zone forever and ever, because people have those relationships forever. Those conversations, they wouldn't even be people they party with. They're just people they run into and talk shit to. It's like
that's that living world. World. That's the other thing about it. I hope that the living world leads to something where it's like, you see everybody out fighting and stuff, but then you also see them back at the base, because that is completely missing right now.
And I mean, not saying negative. Like there's obviously a line. There's a line that I won't go too deep into that. That is crossed a lot of the times with this stuff, and that's like part of it. That's real life. That's part of it. I like, they have the option to mute those players. They have the option to turn VoIP off. I don't mind that they have the option. I didn't like how they forced you to not use it.
Yeah.
I did not like
that. It's good that they're letting you do the team stuff or not use it, but default on, and honestly, it's not good if you turn it off because you can't hear what other people are saying. Line of communications, people may not realize, because if they started with Division 2, they might not understand how important negotiations are. You can save yourself a whole lot of trouble if you're pretty good at talking to people. That's a whole different part of the game that got completely removed for a long time. And now we're getting to see a resurgence, hopefully, in that craft. I will be participating wholeheartedly in it. And I hope everyone else does too. Hashtag free VoIP. God damn it. I think that's most of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's dropping March 3rd?
Yeah, March 3rd. That's the Warlords of New York, Tom Clancy Division 2. Clan stuff didn't really get announced, but I think that's along the same lines of PvP stuff. It's all next year 2 stuff.
That's a whole other podcast we can
essentially it's stuff that better fucking happen. Yeah. But it's right now.
I think you forgot something else.
What's that?
You forgot they changed the rogue system as well.
Oh, we mentioned it. It was
the timer. You talking about?
Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit. I mean, I'm happy that they're at least doing a middle ground. I'm glad they got rid of the gray timer. I think that was it's a cool concept, but it didn't really work its way out. And I like that they shortened the timer to where you could actually potentially get something off. Potentially do a kickflip. Potentially do a jump on an extraction or anything.
If you can hit it while you're aiming, like they said, then that means you can hide the look of it, right? I mean, Raven was mentioning this before. You can hide when you're hitting the button, the look of it. You can ambush people. Already having the gun drawn when it's popping is incredible, right? It depends on the other elements involved. Hell, if it's fast enough, can you accidentally hit it? Is that believable? Can I still scream accidental even if I trigger rogue?
I think you can.
You think so, Brayden?
I feel like if you did it loud enough, you could throw off somebody enough to have them be like, wait, what?
I mean, it is 300 milliseconds, right? Yeah. I mean, that's pretty short. It's pretty short.
Like, it kind of ties back to the top of the episode is like the mentality that they're talking with when they're discussing the dark zone, they're discussing the game. It kind of gives me a little more optimism that it did, because before they were doing this whole, shifting toward PvE and it being like, oh, we're not going to do VoIP, we're not going to do this. It's kind of like it's a spot for everybody type thing. And them coming out and saying it's not a PvE friendly zone, it's not a safe zone. We're spooking you back again. Look, I like that.
They were replacing PvP with fucking PvE robot actions, like the fucking choppers coming in with the simulating they sweep in and they're like, I'm gonna steal your stuff, or like the drops that have extra NPCs because it's like another party showed up to stop you from getting it. Fuck you. You don't replace players in the dark zone. And that's what this design choice tells me. They swung the pendulum so hard in the other direction, it's giving me whiplash. I can't even believe it. I can't believe some of the stuff I read.
Yeah.
Which I don't. It's why it's in. It's why
why you're still hesitant. That's why we're
that's why we're talking about it on.
They dug themselves a hole. They lost a lot of players. They dug themselves a hole, and now they prove it for people not to be skeptical of it. Now you look back at Division 1, they've been able. It's possible. It's possible for them to do it. But you have a lot of red tape now with how hard they're pushing Division 2 and how they're like trying to make this work and this shit.
This feels as if Ubisoft fucked up and they said, "Oh shit, we got to give you guys back control." And they're like, "Yeah, give us back our game. Let us make our game." Because you remember what fucking Activision Blizzard just had to do? They had to let go completely. Yeah. But you guys invested way too much money in this. You got a fucking TV series and all this other bullshit attached to this. You guys are stuck. So you better just back the fuck out. Let us make this game. And here comes year 2. Massive erection.
Yeah.
And I am allowed to cut that one out.
Nah, that's fine.
Massive storm.
You already said it. It's too late.
Is it?
Yeah.
We're just sipping tea and telling lies.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good.
That's it. I'm done.
Pretty good closing on that one.
I don't want any more. Leave it on massive erection.
I think we touched about pretty much everything as far as the update. Stuff that's at least relevant. I mean, there's other gear rework and the armor system and all that stuff. I feel like a lot of that stuff is pretty self-explanatory.
Everybody already talked about all that shit.
Yeah, like all that stuff is pretty clear cut.
This show is gonna be mostly about discussing any like hotly contested topics because that's kind of my thing already. Yeah. Because I always sit right there. Not on a fence, but on a fucking electrified fence between two arguments going, this feels wonderful.
I think my wrap-up thoughts from what we talked about here, I am optimist. I'm optimistic about not necessarily this expansion, because I don't think this expansion is going to fix everything, especially with them not putting in a new Dark Zone or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think it'll at least set it on the path to them getting it right.
It's 1.8.3.
Exactly. They're taking the steps to get it right. And I can see it with the verbiage, the mindset, just looking at their faces when they're talking about we've been trying to fix this also about the Dark Zone also. Like they at least are starting to show me that they're paying attention to what people have been talking about and complaining about. 2, they're fed up with it. And I think that the red tape is getting cut closer and closer in the side of Ubisoft stepping back because of what you just spoke on. I still have my questions about PvP. I still have my questions about them working out what the fuck conflicts doing, survival, etc., adding another Dark Zone, all that stuff. But at least I like where it's heading. I'm still not sold on it though. But that's just anything with Massive and Division shit.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, Punch, it shouldn't take them a year to realize all.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt that. But that's what I'm saying with Ubisoft and Activision. Also, I think with all those, you got so many cooks in the kitchen. I think that has fucked them. I'm not giving them a pass on that. I think it's what's fucked them and what has ruined the reputation of the division leading into year 2 and stuff. But with all that as it is, them talking right now in current day, I'm at least glad to see them actually taking some steps to get it right, even if they're still 6 months off. I think it's kind of dates back to Division 1, whereas I still to this day I will not go back on this. I feel like Division 1 was a game that was meant to be out 5 to 10 years, that was meant to be updated, that was meant to have its own expansions and all that stuff. And with the pressure of Destiny 2 and all these other games coming out, Ubisoft needing to make money and all that shit, that they kind of rushed this game out because it took them years to make Division 1. And Division 1 was only out for 3 years before Division 2 came out. And almost 4 years before Division 2 came out. And it was already being discussed, a year before then, which means to tell me they started development on a year and a half before, which is like, you can't make a game in 2 years that's supposed to be as good as Division 1 1.8 was, or where Division 2 needs to be, which means to tell me they kind of shit it out. So I'm hoping they get it right, but I think we should be going into year 5 of Division 1 versus year 2 of Division 2. But that's my stance on it.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah. Well, the president of Ubisoft admitted as much. So it's a shame. But that just means that we're seeing a longer development cycle of Division 2, which admittedly has better just about everything.
Division 2 as its base itself. Yeah, the base game, way better. Way better.
So just, I mean, we can be upset about them shitting it out, but at least like the base components that we're working with aren't the hot garbage of whatever they put out, with Division 1 year 1.
Yeah.
Like let's be real. Like we're not seeing 5 years of that.
Yeah, Division 1 year 1, like people forget, like they tweak the turn radius, they tweak the everything about that game. They tweaked the misconception that Division 1 was a great game. Division 1 didn't get it right till 1.8.3. Literally did not get it right until it was already on the books, until it was already done.
Yeah, until the sequel was out. It was like,
you want to tell me it wasn't right? Go watch anybody else's YouTube channel and see all the complaint videos. Tell me those.
Nobody stopped bitching until they started playing Division 2, and they're like, you know what? Actually, 1.8.3 is pretty good.
Yeah. It took them that long to get it right.
Yeah, it's whatever. I think that's enough. What do you want me to do here?
Just short wrap up. I mean, what did we talk about? We talked about expansion, talked about Division, the New York, and the Dark Zone status for that, the PvP stuff we like to see, etc.
At the end of the day, the expansion is worth the $30. Division 2 is definitely worth the $3. Hashtag Slugfest is stupid. And we should be talking about Division from the devs' point of view. And if you want things to change, because if you keep coming at it from this antagonistic, accusation-based perspective that people keep coming from, you won't get anything done. Think like a dev, talk like a dev, meet a dev on Twitter, be somebody, right? Like that's how you get shit done. That's how everybody else gets their ideas in there. Hell, I got I influenced PvE and PvP. That territory thing, that's all up here, guys. I've been talking about territory shit that was significant to the player for damn near 3 years now, and they finally did it. Except they did it for PvE players. You better know that's coming for PvP players later, because now that's a mechanic. That's coming down the pipe. I know it. I feel it in my bones. Quote me on it when it comes out. It's coming.
February 15th, 2020.
February 15th, 2020. P2H was back at it again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, and there was way more to this than the last 10 minutes. I don't give a fuck about all these whiny people. I don't.
Yeah.
I do not. Because if you went through 2 hours and 30 minutes and the only thing you got out of it was, we're still only having 12 people, fuck you. That's not the only thing in this. All right? There is plenty in this that is way more important than you being upset about 12 people in a dark zone. There is more to the Division than this petty bullshit. Let's get in there. Let's be somebody. Let's sip on tea and tell lies. I have been P2H. He's been Oi Poncho. He's been Raven Corvus. And we're leaving. Go home.
Yeah.
I don't like people.
Hey, that got me fired up.
I'm fucking pissed again. I'm gonna go yell at people on the internet.